Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. J.D. Vance makes national debut with speech at Republic National Convention. Trump's son also speaks, says America's greatest days are yet to come. U.S. Secret Service head to testify to U.S. House panel on Trump shooting, even as calls from Republicans for Director Kimberly Chietel to resign intensifies. UK lawmakers will debate the government's plans for the country on Thursday to discuss the content of King's speech, examine proposals and implications over 6 days. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen faces a tight vote on Thursday as she seeks to serve a second term. Italy's Meloni among non-supporters. EU could face political deadlock if she is not approved. And Bangladesh protest death toll rises to 7 as violent clashes over quota in government jobs continue even after nationwide shutdown. J.D. Vance was on Spotlight today as he officially accepted the Republican nomination for the Vice President. Vance made the national debut with a primetime speech on the third day of the Republic National Convention. Amidst cheers, he said, "We need a leader who will stand up for American companies." He also made clear that he believes Trump is the best choice for both the industrial towns and the rural agriculture areas across those states.
Mr. Chairman, I stand here humbled, and I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to say I officially accept your nomination to be Vice President of the United States of America.
Usha Vance also made her debut on the national political stage when she introduced her husband at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee on Wednesday. She said Vance is a working-class guy whose goal is to keep people safe and create opportunities.
And his goals in this new role are the same that he has pursued for our family: to keep people safe, to create opportunities, to build a better life, and to solve problems with an open mind. It's safe to say that neither JD nor I expected to find ourselves in this position, but it's hard to imagine a more powerful example of the American dream. A boy from Middletown, Ohio.
And Donald Trump Jr. also addressed the RNC, beginning with the assassination attempt on his father on Saturday. He said Donald Trump showed in that moment that the next American president has the heart of a lion and a spirit that can never be broken. He also spoke about the man who died at the rally, Corey Competore. A vigil is being held tonight for Competore at a speedway in Pennsylvania.
Good evening, America. This November, we have a choice. It's a choice between one team that wants to build this country up and another that wants to tear this country down. It's a choice between people who are proud of America and people who are ashamed of America. And ultimately, it's a choice between America last and America first.
Earlier, U.S. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump made a triumphant entrance at the convention. Trump arrived in Milwaukee moments before J.D. Vance delivered his speech. Trump is set to formally accept the party's nomination in a primetime speech on Friday. He will face Democratic President Joe Biden in November 5th election. Meanwhile, latest fashion statement at the Republican National Convention include people donning fake ear bandages, a symbolic gesture of support for nominee Donald Trump by Arizona delegates. They say, "We are standing in solidarity with him for his wound and we just want him to know how much we love him." Trump has been appearing at the convention wearing a large bandage on his right ear, where he was shot on Saturday at a rally in Pennsylvania. And welcoming the stance of Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate J.D. Vance on Ukraine, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said our country is ready to work with any U.S. leader willing to engage in equitable, mutually respectful dialogue. Take a listen.
Независимо от того, какие были
I will reiterate and Putin mentioned this repeatedly. We will work with any American leader. We will remain ready to work with any US leader who the US people elect and which the leader will be willing to engage in equitable, mutually respectful dialogue. I wish to recall once again what I stated during the Trump administration. Despite the very serious sanctions, there was still dialogue underway, and this is useful in any case.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19, forcing him to cancel a campaign event in Las Vegas as pressure builds on him to drop his re-election bid because of his age. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Biden would not be able to speak at a scheduled event in Las Vegas due to the diagnosis. The White House said Biden was experiencing mild symptoms and will fly to his home in Delaware, where he will self-isolate and continue to carry out all of his duties fully. The president's diagnosis comes amid intense scrutiny of his health and stamina after his fellow Democrats want him to drop his re-election campaign. And U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Chiattle has agreed to testify before the House of Representatives Oversight Committee on July 22nd for a hearing related to the shooting of former President Donald Trump at a rally. Security at the Republican presidential candidate's rally has been under scrutiny, and a number of lawmakers have raised questions about it. The FBI said it was probing the shooting as an assassination attempt. Meanwhile, calls for Chiattle's resignation have intensified, with House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republicans adding their names to the list. Johnson said on Wednesday he will create a special bipartisan task force to investigate the shooting. The agency is also facing an inquiry by the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General. President Biden said on Sunday he was ordering an independent review of how security was handled at their rally. Moving further, China has halted nuclear arms control talks with the United States in a protest of Washington's arms sales to the democratically governed island of Taiwan. The U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller accused China of following Russia's lead by asserting that arms control engagement cannot proceed while there are other challenges in the bilateral relationship.
China has chosen to follow Russia's lead in asserting that engagement on arms control can't proceed when there are other challenges in the bilateral relationship. We think this approach undermines strategic stability. It increases the risk of arms race dynamics. We have made efforts to bolster the defense of our allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific, and we will continue to make those efforts in the face of Chinese threats to their security.
And Taiwan is committed to boosting its defenses and collaborating with the United States, the Foreign Ministry announced on Thursday. The statement comes after Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump suggested Taiwan should pay to be defended. The United States is Taiwan's most important international backer and arms supplier. Despite the lack of formal diplomatic ties, and Washington is bound by law to provide the means for the island's defense. Kuo Yu Chiao, deputy head of the North America Department at Taiwan's Foreign Ministry, emphasized the shared values of democracy, freedom and human rights between Taiwan and the U.S., as well as a mutually beneficial economic relationship. Taiwan has a backlog worth some $19 billion of arms deliveries from the United States, which U.S. officials and politicians have repeatedly pledged to speed up. Now, UK lawmakers will debate the government's plans for the country on Thursday. It will be the first time most of the policies announced during the King's speech and Keir Starmer's address to Parliament will have a chance to be scrutinised by MPs. DD India's Stuart Smith reports from Westminster in London.
The King and Prime Minister have outlined the measures the government will take in this new session of Parliament. Now, lawmakers will spend their first full day debating what has been promised. The vast majority of what's been announced was based on the Labour Party's election manifesto, but the detail of the bills being brought to Parliament provides the first chance to see what exactly is being proposed. While former Prime Minister, now opposition leader Rishi Sunak was already taking Labour to task over some of its bills on Wednesday, he says the Conservative Party will not oppose the government for its own sake. Changes to football governance and measures to reduce smoking were bills brought over from the Conservative government. Other bills proved more controversial. While Labour says it will spend 2.5% of its GDP on defence, the Tories said they should put a timeline on when it will increase that spending by. The leader of the Liberal Democrats wanted Labour to go further than announced when it comes to access to GPs and dentists. And the Scottish National Party said it was disappointed there were no changes to the child benefit cap, a rule that means only the first 2 children in the poorest families are entitled to extra funds from the government. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen will face the crucial vote on Thursday after spending weeks to convince lawmakers to back her for the second term. European leaders officially nominated von der Leyen at a summit in Brussels at the end of June. Road looks rocky ahead, with many saying they still have not decided whether to support her. One among them is Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Von der Leyen angered her when she struck a backroom deal with her fellow Conservatives, Liberals, Greens and Socialists. The tricky part is Meloni heads the hard-right European Conservatives and Reformist group of MEPs whose 78 votes could prove critical to von der Leyen's fate. In whole, von der Leyen needs to win over a majority of the European Parliament's 720 lawmakers on Thursday to secure the second term. Should she fall, officials in Brussels have made it clear that there is no plan B if von der Leyen is not confirmed in her role. And in a major blow that might affect the flow of humanitarian aid delivery to conflict-torn Gaza, the US military has announced termination of its floating piers near Gaza coast. In a news briefing on Wednesday, the US Navy Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, who is also the Deputy Commander of US Central Command, said that the maritime search mission involving the pier was complete and there was no further need to use the pier. The pier was operational for about 20 days and nearly £20 million of aid was delivered to Gaza through this pier. Cooper said efforts to distribute aid to Gaza arriving by sea would now shift to the established port of Ashdod in Israel. Meanwhile, families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza increased pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to reach an agreement with Hamas to bring their relatives home before his scheduled speech at the US Congress on July 24th. The protests came out on streets in various locations across Israel after increasingly positive signs that the deal based on the one announced by US President Joe Biden may be close. Doubts have grown since Israeli forces targeted Hamas military leader Mohammed Deif in a strike on Saturday. Earlier this week, families of female soldiers who were captured by Hamas fighters on October 7th also demanded a commission of inquiry into the events. Israeli protesters to release hostages also raised their voice in New York during a meeting of the United Nations Security Council on the West Asia on Wednesday. The women protesters stood with small signs and yelled for the release of hostages held by Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip. This demonstration happened as Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov began to address the 15-member body after a statement by Israel's UN Ambassador Gilad Erdogan. This disrupted the proceedings of the Council as protests inside the UN headquarters in New York are rare. One person killed and 6 others injured when a motorist plowed a vehicle into a cafe terrace in the Olympic host city Paris on Wednesday evening. The driver of the car has been arrested and an investigation has been launched. France is on high security alert ahead of the Paris Olympics that starts on July 26th. An aircraft that had made an emergency landing on an Argentine mountain was rescued successfully. The aircraft had to land on a frozen lagoon in the province of Chubut on June 29 due to technical problems. Its operator was rescued a day later. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Indian Navy rescues 9 personnel, including 8 Indians, from capsized Falcon vessel of Oman. Search and rescue continues in challenging weather conditions.
Agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Indian Navy's mission deployed warship INS Stake, rendering security and rescue assistance for the capsized oil tanker NV Prestige Falcon, has rescued 9 personnel, including 8 Indians. The MV had capsized about 25 nm southeast of Ras Madrak, Oman on Monday, and security and rescue efforts in coordination with Oman authorities are in progress since the next day. The MV is reported to have had a total of 16 crew, including 13 Indians and 3 Sri Lankans. The search and rescue by Indian and Omani assets is being undertaken in challenging weather conditions as the area is experiencing rough sea and strong winds. Indian Navy's long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft P-8I is also assisting in search for survivors. Now, one more person in fact died and many others were injured as violent clashes continue in Bangladesh even after nationwide shutdown. Protesters and the police clashed in Dhaka on Thursday. The coordination committee of the quota reform movement called for a peaceful, complete shutdown across the country to push home their demands to reform the quota system and curb the attacks on student protesters. The government has deployed the border guard Bangladesh in addition to various police agencies across the country. Meanwhile, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had announced a judicial inquiry into the deaths of 6 people who lost their lives on Tuesday during the protests. All right, let's go across to Dhaka now. DD India's Naval Singh Parmar is joining us live to give us more updates on this. Mr. Parmar, the protest continues even after nationwide shutdown, and 1 more person died. Is the situation under control in Bangladesh?
Well, Abhishek, situation is very tense here in Bangladesh as yesterday night some of the student leader on the social media platform announced for the nationwide shutdown on Thursday, today. And today early morning, the coordination committee of the students who are protesting against the quota reforms or quota reforms movement, who are leading the quota reforms movement, are announced the nationwide shutdown. Railroad and other means of connectivity are disrupted here in Dhaka as well as other major city of Bangladesh. Dhaka Chattogram Highway and Dhaka Borisal Highway are communication is disrupted, and there is a public there is government announced shutdown of the educational institution or kind of educational institution, and people from all from the common people are also now coming in support of the students and those who are agitating against the quota system in the government job. And many of the public personality like celebrity also supported in last 2 days against the violence or clash between the police and the agitating students.
But what has been the reaction of the government, if you want to know from you, and are steps being taken to control the situation?
Government trying to control the situation and maintain to law and order in the streets and roads of the Bangladesh. For that, they have hugely deployed police and other agencies, including Border Guard Bangladesh. 229 platoons of BGP have been deployed in Bangladesh across the country. And apart from that, yesterday night, Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina addressed the nation on Betar Bangladesh and Bangladesh television, and she appealed agitating students to have a faith on the judicial system of the country, and he assured them that whatever the outcomes comes in the verdict of the judicial system, the agitating student will not be disappointed in that, and she announced for the judicial probe in the matter of clashes or the violence on the Tuesday and Wednesday, in which on Tuesday 6 and one more death on today morning. So total 7 deaths occurred. So she asked for the judicial probe in this matter.
All right. Thank you for the time being, but keep tracking the story. We will keep coming back to you. In a step to further bolster the ties between the two nations, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has inaugurated India's first overseas Janosi Kendra in Mauritius. Dr. Jaishankar, along with Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Kumar Jugnauth, inaugurated the Janosi Kendra on Wednesday. Dr. Jaishankar, in a social media post, said, and I quote him, "Delighted to inaugurate, along with Prime Minister Pravind Kumar Jugnauth, the first overseas Janosi Kendra in Mauritius. This Aushadhi Kendra is a delivery of the promise made by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier this year." He further added, the India-Mauritius Health Partnership Project will supply cost-effective made-in-India medicines to augment public health care and enhance well-being. The External Affairs Minister of India also inaugurated the Mediclinic project at Grand Boy in Mauritius, which is made with Indian grant assistance, calling it the newest expression of friendship between the two nations. Speaking at the inauguration of the project at Grand Boy in Mauritius, Dr. Jaishankar said that the initiative will provide secondary health care for 16,000 people in the Grand Boy area. Expressing pride, Dr. Jaishankar said that health is a priority and all of us have become health conscious. Underscoring the other projects India has done in Mauritius, he said that they have been expressions of our relationship.
This family has gathered here for a very important event, which is the opening of the Mediclinic. I think it was described as the newest expression of our friendship. And I'm told it will provide secondary health care for 16,000 people of Gramboa area. And we feel very proud to be a partner in this collaboration.
And search operations continue for the third day in Jammu and Kashmir's Doordarshan district. The village defence guards are reported to have exchanged fire with terrorists at Kalan Bhata last night and in the wee hours of Thursday during the ongoing anti-terrorist operation in the Dessa forest area. 4 army personnel were martyred during the intervening night of Monday and Tuesday there. Army, paramilitary forces and police are carrying out intensive search operation using helicopters and drones. There are no reports or official confirmation of any casualties in the latest exchange of fire so far. Meanwhile, police launched major crackdown on over ground workers network and arrested 4 of them responsible for providing logistics support to the terrorists in Doordarshan district. And the Olympic torch relay made its way through the Department of Ain on Wednesday. Stage 59 of the relay saw torchbearers start in Chateau-Thierry before finishing up in Saint Quentin, where French kickboxer Emily Machut led the cauldron. Meanwhile, Thursday's stage will move through Oise department from Compiègne to Beauvais. The relay will culminate with the lighting of the cauldron in the host city Paris during the opening ceremony of the Games on July 26th. And the world is celebrating Nelson Mandela International Day today. The day is celebrated every year on July 18 to honor the life and legacy of a man who changed the 20th century and helped in shaping the 21st. This year, the theme is still in our hands to combat poverty and inequality resonates deeply with crises being faced by poor all across the world. This event here marks Nelson Mandela's 106th birthday, commemorating his lifelong campaigning for equal rights. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.
As the world gears up